So let's say I want to bring a symbol into Photoshop to use as a brush. So right now in Photoshop I've got standard brush where I can change the size and or whether it's got a soft edge or hard edge. I can change the color of the brush by double clicking on the foreground color. In this case I'm going to choose white. So in other words, I could make something like circles just using a brush. If I go to Illustrator and I want to make a custom symbol, let's say I made a star symbol, or later I can try making a more complex symbol. You want to make your brush symbol in black, and then you want to confirm that your black is actually 100% in the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So to do that, click on the symbol and then go to Window Color and open up your color palette. And it might be in RGB. If it is, go to the drop down and switch it to CMYK, and then just make sure you slide up all of these panels. If you don't do that, when you start to use the brush, it may come out as semi-transparent. Then I'm going to take this symbol and I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to switch over to Photoshop. And just out of force of habit, to keep things organized, I'm going to go to my very, very top layer, have all my other layers turned off. In fact, I can even turn off the top one. Just want to make sure I have that one selected. And then I'm going to go ahead and just paste and make sure I paste it as pixels. Whenever you paste something into Photoshop, it automatically puts it on a new layer. I can enlarge that a little bit if I want. And then I'll either double click it, or if it's too small to double click when I bring it in, I'll just select one of the alternate tools on the toolbar, and it'll ask me if I want to place it, and I'll say yes. And now I want to define it as a brush. So I'm going to go to Edit. And for this, you want to make sure that all your other layers are turned off. If I have even one layer turned on, it'll define this entire area as a brush. So I want just the symbol I want, and then go to Edit, Define Brush Preset. And here I can give it a name. So this is a 12-sided star, so I'll call it star 12. And then after I've made that preset, I'm going to go ahead and delete this layer. Say yes. Now let's say I wanted to continue my animation. I'm going to go to the top layer, again make sure all the other layers are turned off and only this one is turned on and it's selected. Sometimes we have that one turned on and we're on this layer, and when we try to go and do something, it's going to have this little hash mark saying no, you can't edit, and that's because I'm on a layer that's currently hidden, so I need to go up to a layer that's not. And there I can see there's my new brush preset. If I want to see all of my brush preset options, I go to Window, Brush Preset, and I've got brushes or brush preset, and I can expand this. And I can also get, I can do as a list or as a thumbnail. If I do something like small list, then it's actually going to show me the name, and it'll usually put your most recent presets down here at the bottom. So there's my star 12. There it is. Now, just like any other brush, I can still change the size of the brush and make it really big or medium or small. I can also change the color of it. In this case, I'm going to choose white, whereas when I brought it in, it was black. And since I did this layer, I think I duplicated that layer. Yes, I did. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And then I can continue my animation using this preset to add to it. However, it makes sense conceptually. And of course, I can mix that symbol with a different symbol. Let's go back to Illustrator for a moment. Let's say I made a slightly more complex symbol, or let's say I just wanted to bring in a line. So I just created the line and I gave the line a color. And I'll go ahead and copy it, Command-C, go back to Photoshop, again go to my top layer and paste. Now I can choose if I want to enlarge it a little bit. go ahead and place it, and then edit, define brush preset. So now I'll have one called line. So with this, if I went back and wanted to work with line, for example, I could duplicate this layer, and using my brush tool again, I can change the size of the line a little bit, and again I can choose black or white. So there I've got a line. And I can change the size of it. That made a really small one. Let me make that a little bit bigger. There we go. And then just a couple reminders about Illustrator, depending on your experience with Illustrator. If I want to make a more complex shape, let's say I wanted to have something take a bite out of another object, you simply change where that object is arranged. So I bring that object to the top, and then I can select both of these. And the easiest tool in Pathfinders, window Pathfinders, is just the divide. You can poke around with these other ones, but if I divide it and then I ungroup it, click off of it, then I can click back on these parts and I can delete individual parts. Now I have my circle with the bite out of it. Then again, I just want to double check that the foreground color of this is at 100% cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And I'll go through the same process of not cutting it, but copying it. Command-C. And I'm using Command-Tab, by the way, to scroll back and forth between applications. And then repeat the process again. Go ahead and paste that object in, double click, edit, define brush preset, bite, and always delete that layer because I want to use it as part of the animation. Duplicate this one. And then I can, of course, change the brush size and the opacity of it and add it to my animation.